A reported internet outage disrupted nearby home surveillance cameras around the time Savannah Guthrie's mother was taken. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is investigating a damaged utility box around the corner from Nancy Guthrie's home as the desperate search for Today co-host Savannah Guthrie's mother continues in its 6th week. Investigators believe it could be connected to a reported internet outage that occurred around the time she disappeared in the early morning hours of February 1st, which disrupted nearby home surveillance cameras. Savannah Guthrie reunited with her co-workers at the Today studio in New York City last Thursday. She thanked her colleagues for their support, shared hugs with her co-anchors, and expressed her interest in returning to the show when the time was right. "I think her coming here, just being able to be with us and for us to be able to hug her, I think it's a step," Today host Chanel Jones told the audience. "I don't know what's ahead of us, but all I know is it is a step." Though there have been no significant breakthroughs in the search for Nancy Guthrie in recent weeks, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told Today last Tuesday that he believes investigators are definitely closer to solving the case. "We've got a lot of intel, a lot of leads, but now it's time to just go to work," he said. The family of Nancy Guthrie, 84, is offering $1 million for information leading to her recovery. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the Pima County Sheriff's Department tip line at 520-351-4900 or the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. The desert night in Tucson was colder than usual on February 1st. At 4:07 a.m., the lights inside the small adobe home on East Riverbend Lane were still on. Nancy Guthrie had always been an early riser. At 84, her mornings began with the same ritual she had followed for decades: a cup of weak coffee, a crossword puzzle, and the quiet hum of the desert waking up. That morning, however, something was different. At exactly 4:12 a.m., several homes in the neighborhood lost internet connectivity. It lasted only 9 minutes. But in those 9 minutes, every surveillance camera on Riverbend Lane went dark. And Nancy Guthrie disappeared. Nancy lived alone in the modest home she had moved into 20 years earlier. The property sat on a quiet street lined with mesquite trees and low stucco houses. Her neighbors described the street as the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, spoke to her mother almost every evening. The night of January 31st had been no different. "Mom sounded perfectly normal," Savannah later told investigators. "We talked about the weather and her doctor's appointment next week. She asked about the kids." Nancy ended the call the way she always did. "Tell them Grandma loves them." It was the last time Savannah heard her mother's voice. At 10:15 a.m. on February 1st, Nancy's housekeeper, Maria Delgado, arrived for her weekly cleaning. She immediately sensed something wrong. Nancy's car sat in the driveway. The front door was slightly open. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Nancy's coffee mug sat half full on the kitchen table. The crossword puzzle was open, several clues already filled in with neat pencil writing. But Nancy herself was nowhere to be found. Maria called 911. Within minutes, deputies from the Pima County Sheriff's Department arrived. The first responding officer later wrote a note in his report. The scene appeared undisturbed. No signs of forced entry. However, the resident was missing. News reached Savannah Guthrie while she was preparing for the morning broadcast in New York. Her phone rang repeatedly. At first she ignored it. Then a message appeared from her cousin. "Call me. It's about your mom." Minutes later, Savannah was sitting in a private office inside the Today studio, listening to the words that would change her life. Her mother was missing. By that afternoon, Savannah was on a flight to Arizona. Search teams combed the desert surrounding Nancy's home. Helicopters scanned miles of terrain. Bloodhounds followed faint scents down dirt trails that led nowhere. Neighbors were questioned. Security footage from nearby houses was collected. But almost immediately investigators noticed something strange. Several security systems showed a gap in their recordings. Between 4:12 a.m. and 4:21 a.m. 9 minutes. All cameras offline. Detectives initially assumed it was coincidence. Then technicians looked deeper. The cause of the outage appeared to be a damaged utility box located around the corner from Nancy's house. The metal panel had been pried open. Inside, several fiber cables had been severed. Someone had deliberately cut the neighborhood's internet connection. Detective Aaron Salazar had spent 22 years investigating crimes in Pima County. The moment he saw the utility box, he felt uneasy. This wasn't random vandalism. It was too precise. Whoever did it knew exactly what they were doing. And more importantly, they knew about the cameras. Someone wanted those cameras offline, Salazar told Sheriff Chris Nanos. And they knew when to do it.